What is up, true believers? It's Mason here with Comics and Crosses, where we discuss the eternal truths behind our modern mythology. And today I am coming to you live with a Christian perspective review of Lucky Devil issue number 2. So I was out of town earlier this week, so I didn't get to create a lot of content like I've been trying to do, staying a little more consistent. So I thought a solution to that would be going live with one of my pickups from this week, which was this book, which is by Cullen, Bunn and Fran Galan, with letters by El Torres. So this is a Dark Horse comic. So I don't pick up a lot of Dark Horse. Definitely more of an indie book, but I gotta say, the artwork is great. The storytelling is really good. And so I wanted to talk about some of the interesting themes that I've found here within Lucky Devil. So Lucky Devil issue 2 in particular. So I did a review on the first issue, which you can pick up, which you can watch here on my channel. So if you haven't seen that video, you can go back and check that one out. And now when I read this, issue 2 had so many interesting things in it that I just had to kind of talk about it. So this is following the story. We know that Stanley was kind of a down and out loser, taken advantage of by the people he worked with, by his girlfriend or wife, whoever she was, and basically was possessed by a demon, and which I forget the name of the demon, but anyhow, he was possessed, and Zed something, but he was possessed, and then did all these horrible things and went for an exorcism. And after this back alley exorcist performed an exorcism, Zed the demon was cast out seemingly, but the weird thing is all of his powers remain. So I talked a bit about that in my first review, about the ideas of demons having powers and things like that. But so here's a couple things, and this is going to be spoilery, so I recommend you read this book first, but I'm going to dig into it. So the first thing that I found really interesting, well, maybe not even the first, there's so many interesting things in this issue as we see Stanley start to kind of become this new person, this new kind of persona with this power that he has, controlling people, or not controlling people, but he's trying to control people through a cult-like manner. So the first thing is there was a really poignant moment where he's kind of talking to a group of people that he's trying to initiate, and and he talks about heaven and hell and God and demons and all these things. And he says, after all, I'm no God, I'm no devil, I'm one of you. And I found this really fascinating because and this is probably similar. I've never been in a cult myself, but I would imagine that it's similar in a lot of cults where you have this head figure, this person who is saying, basically, I'm like you, follow me. I found that people really, they follow strong personalities, they follow leaders, but really the people that we want to follow, when we want to follow someone, I feel like this is just my personal opinion, but I feel like it's always because we see some of ourselves in them. They seem human. We see something that we relate to in that person, and that makes us want to follow them. And he's appealing to that, this thing that I would say that's built into every human, which is an eternal truth, because the whole idea of I'm one of you is a major characteristic of Jesus Christ. So, right, so Jesus was the Son of God, was God in the flesh, came to earth as a human to be the representative for mankind, even though he was the representative of God. So it's kind of a mystery. It's these things kind of overlapping, but so you see that in Stanley, the main character in this comic, coming forth as, here I am, I'm like you, but I'm powerful and I want to make you powerful too. And that's a very tempting draw. I mean, I think that's a tempting appeal, and we see a distorted version of that in this kind of cult leader Stanley now, that's just like a representation of what Christ is like, what every human soul longs for, someone who's like me, who's compassionate, merciful, understanding of me, and yet has the power to deliver me, the power to empower me. So that was the first thing I noticed about this. The second thing, there was something kind of interesting, sort of a small detail, but in this issue, Stanley and his, I guess his girlfriend, I don't really know who she is, but Desi, I think her name's Desi. Anyhow, he and his girlfriend go to buy this home that was basically owned by a guy in the past who killed people and said he was possessed by a demon, and the demon he called Mammon. So I found that really interesting because Mammon is actually mentioned in the Bible, but the context of it is not like super dark like this to where somebody would be capturing people and killing people, at least not directly. So here's what Mammon is. So there's they reference a story about this guy possessed by a demon called Mammon. And so Mammon is actually is when Jesus is talking about not having your treasure here on earth, but rather he's saying store up your treasure in heaven, meaning like don't live your life entirely for just the things that you can possess, the things that you can have power over, because it's very much tied in with money and having enough, getting your desires filled. It's closely tied to the idea of, if you know the story of Israel going through the wilderness and God providing manna. So basically these people were wandering through the wilderness and God actually made this stuff fall from the sky called manna, which was like their daily bread. It was like providing for them so that they always had enough. And so in Matthew 6, I believe it's part of the Sermon on the Mount. Yeah. So Jesus he talks about it, and he says, basically to summarize, no one can serve two masters, for he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money, or mammon, depending on the translation. So, yeah, if you're living for basically taking care of yourself, providing for your needs, then you cannot live for God. You cannot live for a loving, pure God who loves others rather than self. If you're completely devoted to providing for self, if you're living for money, for mammon. So it's kind of a concept that's bigger than just physical money. Which, does it lead to tying people up in your basement and killing them as seen in the comic? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, people have done horrible things for money. People have, people abuse, mistreat, do atrocities against humanity, oftentimes in the pursuit of money. So, yes. So this is very much, there is something evil there to be drawn out, and something that a lot of evil does come from. In fact, even it said, that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Not money itself, but the love of it. So something to consider, something we see maybe fleshed out in the pages here with awesome artwork by Fran Galan. I really like the art in this book. And I mean, it doesn't mention a colorist, so he must do the colors as well, which I think are just great, like super cool. The visual, the intensity, the darkness of it, and yet very vivid. Really nice in this comic. And so last thing I would bring out is I would just say, so the whole story about the guy with Mammon is because Stanley's purchasing this house to have his church He's called this. He says this will be my church. And so as we see his church, it's, kind of your typical cultish, gathering. People are drinking, people are having it's orgies or like sex all over the place, and indulging in carnality, indulging in the desires of the flesh. Which, sounds like a lot of cults, a lot of weird sacrifices and sexual stuff going on. And that, it's interesting because I think a lot of times it's viewed the kind of like entertainment presents this idea of, oh, Satan is all about pleasure and like, about sex and about getting money so you can get the things you want, and heaven is boring and God is all, calm, and there's women with long skirts, and there's whatever they people kind of picture or characterize heaven as being full of. But the thing is, so the fact is, when it comes to money, remember I said money was not the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. So taking money in one person's hand can go feed a homeless person, and money in another person's hand can go buy themselves a drink rather than diapers for their baby. Sex can be awesome. Sex can be a great thing to connect to people, or sex could be rape, right? It could be something really horrific and awful. So you see but the difference is in these kind of satanic, cultish kind of pictures. The reason you see stuff like that is because it's basically kind of goes back to that Mammon thing. It's like, I'm going to take care of myself rather than let myself be provided for. I think that's the whole distinguishing line that separates Christian thought and paradigm from the rest of existence. Because if you go back to Adam and Eve in the garden, and the whole thing with the snake was like, did God say you really couldn't do this? It's because he knows, and he put the seed of doubt in Eve that maybe God is not good. Maybe he's not going to provide for you. Considering, meanwhile, she's standing in a garden where she literally has everything she could ever need. No concerns, no worries, no problems. And yet that doubt, that question, maybe I should look out for myself. Maybe if I take this, I'll be like God and I can decide better. So the modern satanic thinking is actually not a whole lot about, hate God this and blah, blah, blah. It's not a bunch of like, yeah, Satan's awesome, but it's actually the center of satanic thinking is actually do as thou wilt, meaning obey your desires rather than what you are told you should do, rather than what God says you should do. And you see a lot of that in this scene here at his church. It's a lot of fulfilling one's own desires with no concern for what is best, what is healthy, what God would desire. And what God desires, to make it the most simple way possible, is whatever is good for human flourishing. I heard that before, and I thought, yeah, that's pretty much sums it up pretty good. So meaning you killing somebody is not good for human flourishing. You withholding food from those who need is not good for human flourishing. And so, that's the difference between a cult church and a real church, ideally. Now, I know there's a lot of issues within a church because there's humans there. Pero, the idea, though, should be that rather than a bunch of people doing as they desire and what's best for them, is because of what Jesus has done for people, then those Christian people turn around and because he has laid their life down for them, they lay their life down for others. I will do what's best for you in love because that is what's good for you. Because I've been shown love, I will show you love. So those are some concepts, some ideas that really stuck out to me out of this book. And again, I highly recommend it. I hope that you enjoyed my just sharing some of my thoughts. Sorry if it went a little long, but if you stuck with me to the end, I much appreciate you. Leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts if you're reading this book. If maybe now you're like, wow, I really want to read this book. And also, I now have a website, comicsandcrosses.com. It's mostly just a fancified link tree so that you can access me on Instagram, on Twitter, YouTube, or also if you'd like to sign up for the Comics and Crosses newsletter. Yeah, so I actually have a newsletter that I'm now sending out with just my thoughts. So you can, if you're liking what I'm saying, you want to hear a little more of my thoughts in writing, I'm sharing kind of some of the comics that are coming out, maybe, you know, some written down reviews, and different things like that, you know, things that maybe I just take a moment to sit and kind of type out. So, hey, also, you know, any new things that are going on with the channel and new ventures that I have going on. So, hey, God bless everybody. Thanks for checking in. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share, join the newsletter, and I hope to see you again soon. Peace, people. Until next time. Adios.